Hello! So today I'm going to be talking about Pat Conroy's Prince of Tides. I know, I've got the microphone in my hand. I'm trying something a little bit different. I don't know if it's going to sound better, if it's going to sound worse. You let me know. And before you mention this in the comments, I do know that my plosives are pretty all over the shop. A lot of popping peas going down. I can only apologise, but yeah, I am on top of that. I'll try and sort it for next time. So, Pat Conroy's Prince of Tides, a novel which is pretty much as old as I am. It centres in on Tom Wingo, a former South Carolina football coach and teacher whose life is unravelling. When Tom's sister Savannah attempts suicide, he must travel from the South to New York City to check in on her. And it's at this point he meets her psychiatrist, Susan Lowenstein. Now, Lowenstein wants Tom to tell her everything. She believes the key into sort of unlocking Savannah's illness, mental illness, and why she keeps trying to kill herself is rooted in some sort of dark moment in their past. So that's exactly what Tom does. He tells Lowenstein the story of their lives, their family history, which in parts is very dark. I mean, major content warnings. This novel goes to some very dark places, but also there's a lot of joy. A lot of joy and a lot of colour in their sort of family history. They are an incredibly unique family. But as the story continues, we do get glimpses into the child abuse, the mental illness, the loss and pain that pretty much every member of the Wingo family has experienced. The structure of the novel is quite simple, but also at the same time quite complex. I know, oxymoron time, but we keep travelling between the past and the present and shifting between sort of Tom's experiences with Dr. Lowenstein and their sort of relationship that's building, his relationship with his own children and his wife, who is having an affair. That's not a spoiler, you find out quite early on. But then also like the history and the decades of their family life. Yeah, it's incredibly complex, but also I would say, you know, on paper you could say it's quite simple. It's just in the present into the past, in the present into the past, but both sides of this story are extremely layered and extremely complex. And ultimately it is a story of Tom confronting his past, confronting his pain, and hopefully growing and healing from it. Right, so let's jump into a little bit of the old themage. So first up, of course, we've got family dynamics and dysfunction. The novel is looking at trauma and healing. We've got a little bit of love, loss, and survival. And finally, I'd say we're looking at place, memory, and identity. And there will be so many more, but that's all I could be bothered to make notes on. Character time. So first up, we've got Tom Wingo, he's very loyal. He's incredibly resilient, he's reflective, he's compassionate, and he's very, very stoic. Next up, we have Savannah Wingo, who is Tom's twin sister. She is highly intelligent. She's extremely complex. I would personally say she is quite fragile. She is most definitely haunted. And finally, I would say she's sensitive. Out of all of the Wingo family, yeah, she is the most sensitive, probably the most compassionate. Next up, we have Luke Wingo, who is the older brother. Luke Wingo is also incredibly loyal. He will do anything for his family. Much like Tom, he is also very stoic. I would say that Luke is really observant. His mother tells him all the time that he's the dumb one in the family. He's the big, strong, protective, dumb one. But actually, when you get down to it, Luke is incredibly smart and very aware of the sort of the situation and things that are happening around him. Next up, we have Lucy Wingo, the mother. Now, I think Lucy is a type of character in which everyone's going to have a different point of view on her. That's how brilliantly she is written as a character. I think she's just fantastic. But I would say that she is loving. Given all her faults, she is extremely loving. She is also extremely self-conscious, like her status in the community and always wanting to be seen as more than their very, very poor upbringing, their very poor life that they live. She wants to be a part of the upper circle. She wants to be seen as someone of worth. However, every choice she's made in her life has led her down the complete opposite path. I would say that Lucy is also extremely fragile. She's very much a character in denial about most things in her life, which causes a lot of build-up of anger and trauma, not just in herself, but in the entire family. And finally, I'm going to say selfless. Now, I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that one, because she does a lot of things that appear to be quite selfish and self-serving throughout this novel. But then I think there's a lot of justification and proof of her doing lots of things just for her children, just for the family. She was, again, just a very... Well, every character in this novel is extremely complex. Next up, we have Luke Wingo, the father. Sorry, earlier on I should have said Luke Wingo Jr., but we have the dad. If you are looking for an out-and-out villain in this novel, and I don't think any really do exist in this. Oh, there's a couple. There's a few that you could say stereotypically tick those boxes, some of the side characters. But overall, I would say that, yeah, Luke Wingo Sr. is without a doubt the villain of this novel. He works hard for his family. He's a shrimper. He's got his own shrimp boat, and I can't believe this is the first time in this review I'm mentioning shrimping. It's a huge part of this novel, the shrimping community, all the shrimp boats, the whole family having to work on the shrimp boat at one point or another to keep the family afloat. The old shrimpity shrimps is a massive part of this novel. But anyway, yes, he's a shrimper. He works hard and he keeps coming up with these different schemes. All of them fail, but trying these different schemes, trying to be as creative as possible in order to make money, in order to succeed, in order to provide his family with everything that he wants to give them. There are elements of Luke Wingo Sr. which are commendable. It's just really hard, isn't it? Because as soon as someone lays a hand on their kids, as soon as someone lays a hand on their wife, you automatically go, piece of shit, someone put a bullet in their brain. However, this novel does a very good job of playing the other side a little bit. I think he's still the out-and-out villain, and I really enjoy his journey and his later life and him coming to terms with the things that he's done. But, yeah, again, every character's complex. My God, this novel's good. And finally, I'm going to talk about Dr. Lowenstein. There are other characters that I could mention. The grandparents get a lot of time in this novel. There's another sort of antagonist, which is the local, very wealthy, I don't even know the business that this guy's in, and I've sort of forgotten his name, but he deals in property, and he's trying to buy up all the properties in the local area. And him and his wife are both very, very nasty. And their son, he has a bit of a clash with Tom at some point. Just, yeah, and I could go into details on that, but I won't. I'll just stick to the main players. So yeah, Dr. Lowenstein. So I would say that Dr. Lowenstein is very, very skilled, and she is extremely perceptive. She is very caring of her patients, and she eventually becomes very caring of Tom. And finally, I'd say that she's a very smart and intelligent woman. She's not without her faults, and she is experiencing her own family dysfunction. Her husband is openly having affairs that she sort of knows about, and her son is going sort of through a bit of a crisis, which she sort of enables Tom to sort of help her with that as well. But there you go. That took quite a while, but that's the characters. So let's jump right into what did I like and what didn't I like. What I liked. So the first thing I absolutely adored, is just the emotional depths that this novel goes to. It is a big novel. I can't even remember the page count right now, like 700 plus pages. It is it is a big boy. And yeah, it's so emotionally rich. I was just at times laughing with absolute joy and then crying my eyes out, and it is such a journey, and the emotional depths that it reaches to is absolutely brilliant. Next thing I absolutely adored is the characters. I loved absolutely every single character in this novel. I loved them. Even the antagonists I loved hating. It's so good. Next thing I really loved is the sort of like, I found the prose to be quite lyrical, but also really evocative at times. And it's a big novel, and I flew through it. Oh, it's so good. Next thing I really loved is the scope of this novel, the generational scope. I love a kind of family saga. I love a sort of family drama that takes place over decades, and we sort of see the fallout of actions and experiences and all that kind of thing. And this gives you that by the bucket load. Brilliant. Next thing I absolutely loved is there is a great balance of hope and despair in this novel. It's as simple as that. This novel goes to some very, very dark places, extremely dark places. Places where I was like, my jaw dropped because I was like, what? I thought that was I didn't think that was, what? So yeah, it goes to really dark places, and then it goes to some places of absolute joy. I think the balance is perfect. Next thing I absolutely loved about this novel is the sort of psychological insights that it dives into. I think it finds this sort of, again, balance with its subject matter on finding a lightness to it, but also never steering away from the dark side. Now, some people might say it's a bit too lighthearted and the blend might be a bit jarring, but for me and my personal tastes, it's leveled perfectly. Next thing I really loved is the vivid sense of place. Both New York and the American South just nails it. absolutely nails it. Like the smells of being on the shrimp boat and the island and the way the house looks and the people and oh yeah, so good. So good. And the final thing I absolutely loved is just the narrative ambition. I know I've already mentioned the sort of scope of it, but like narratively, it feels really simple on paper from the whole, it's, you know, in the present into the past, in the present into the past, but the way it's layered and the way it jumps around and the points that it chooses to switch and how clearly those switches are handled and how well, just brilliant. What didn't I like? There is only one very small thing I didn't like in this novel. Only one, and it is pretty petty, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. So Tom leaves his 3 daughters and his wife. He finds out that his wife is having an affair. She tells him, and he's obviously not been the most perfect husband in the past anyway. And then he goes on this trip. As soon as he finds out, the next morning he's off on this trip, going to New York, and that's when he bumps into Dr. Lowenstein. Quite a large section of this novel goes by without him even thinking about his 3 kids or thinking about his wife. Like, we go on such a journey, so many pages, and there was a little bit in my brain being like, he hasn't like mentioned his kids. He's been there for weeks, and he hasn't even mentioned his kids, and he hasn't mentioned his wife. And then after about like halfway through the book, he finally has a phone call with his wife again and sort of asks about the kids. And I don't know, it was the only thing that I just didn't believe. I know that Tom can be a bit selfish as a character, but I didn't think he could be that selfish. And even though he's got a lot on his mind with his sister attempting suicide and then him trawling through all of his trauma and telling the entire history of his family, that is a lot to cover. I still think there could have been a few nods now and again to his kids and his ex-wife. And even though we do get that plot thread explored, I felt like if we were to pick one part of this novel and say what is the sort of weakest, what could do with a little bit of strengthening, I do think that kind of the back and forth with him and his wife who's having an affair could have been strengthened. It's small. It's really, really small. But it was the only thing that sort of like niggled at me a little bit. But overall, I've got nothing else. This novel is astonishing. So there you go, that was my likes and dislikes of Pat Conroy's The Prince of Tides. And if you couldn't tell already, I think this novel is an absolute masterpiece. I absolutely loved it with every fibre of my being. I loved this novel. It's just everything I want in a novel. It's just absolutely everything. It's got, and even moments when I was starting to like Tom, and you would see some of his like the racist way where he lives. Oh my God, it's just, everyone's complex. And every time I think I've got a finger on things, something will switch, and I will just have to reevaluate. And it's so good. I want more novels like this. If you know of any novels like this novel, tell me, please. I need to read more stuff like this. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. It goes right in with the top dogs for me, with some of the best novels I've ever read in my life. Things like Stoner and The Whale. This is now in my top 5. Yeah, this is easily in my top 5 favourite books I have ever read in my life. That's how good it is. East of Eden, it's up there with East of Eden. It's just, it's a gush fest, everybody. Welcome to the gush fest. I loved it so much. I loved it so much that I have picked up 2 books since finishing this book, and I've had to stop them both because none of them were quite comparing to the sort of vibe I was on. So I'm having to sort of just like chill for a bit because I was a bit like, I need that one to sort of firmly go away and settle before I can dive into something else, because I'm still in it. I'm still there. So, have you read The Prince of Tides? And if so, what did you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please let me know in the comments below. As always, I hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying whatever you might be reading, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye. P.S. Please let me know if the microphone works or if you find it annoying. That would be really handy.